Godzilla is now in New York City.
Monster 01 and 02, commence the attack.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to this week's episode of Stomp This Way. How you doing today, Andrew?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I am doing pretty good. We're going to try our best to get through this week without an audio disaster. Sometimes I think I'm just not meant to be a podcaster because no matter how hard I've tried over the years, I have never been able to get consistent audio. And even with basically $1,000 worth of audio equipment sitting on this table, I still find a way to mess up the audio week in and week out. And I'm just not sure why. But anyway, that being said, yeah, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about none other than Ultraman Decker Finale, Journey to Beyond.
That's right, Ultraman Decker Finale, Journey to Beyond. So yeah, Ultraman Decker. So, well, obviously we watched the show. I think we recorded a podcast on the show, didn't we?
Probably.
I'm pretty sure we did. I should have gone back and listened to it before we did this. So just kind of and like I said, I think there's a podcast episode out there where my thoughts were fresher on it. But, you know, I thought the show was fine.
Yeah.
I thought there was kind of a weird spot in the middle of the show where it kind of turned into a show about Trigger for a while. But it was fine. It was your pretty typical modern day Ultraman adventure.
Yeah.
And unless I'm mistaken, I think this is and I think we talked about this last week. This is our first viewing of this movie. I don't think we've seen this before. This is our first.
I have not.
It didn't ring any bells. So I think this was our first viewing of this movie. So that's exciting. I think that's a first for one of these Ultraman movies.
In a very long time.
In a long time, at least. Yeah. So that was exciting. But definitely interested to revisit this and see this movie for the first time coming into this. But yeah. You want some production trivia?
Sure, why not?
I don't have a whole lot. This premiered simultaneous like the last one, simultaneously in theaters, on Super Raya Imagination, and on Ultraman Connection. It was the fourth theatrical film in the Reiwa era.
Ooh.
Both the writer and director of this film worked on the Decker show and the Trigger show and movie, so kind of veterans of the franchise at this point. And the aliens, Padon, Kaluch, I might be saying that, and Zelon are voiced by the comedy trio Yasuda Dai Circus, whoever they are.
Yeah, somebody probably popular in Japan.
I know one of the older movies we talked about, a comedy group had voiced some aliens, so not the first time, but and then no box office, but this was released on February 23rd of 2023.
There never is much box office on these Ultraman films.
No, not much on these Ultraman movies, but I have pulled up the trailer. So let's check that out. When we come back, we'll do casting. What?
And it won't just be music this time.
No, it'll be in Japanese, but it'll have some dialogue. We'll do the cast and crew. We'll read off the plot summary, and we'll talk all about Ultraman Decker Finale, Journey to Beyond. See you in a bit.
世はギベルです。全宇宙を支配する。
地球を守るのが俺たちの使命だ。
俺たちはずっとセレクトスノ
次々襲い来る異星人軍団。
ー行けキングジョー
あの装置を破壊してください。
もうウルトラマンになれないんだ。でも俺のやるべきことは変わらない。
私が倒します。
ウルトラマンディナス。
ウルトラマンになって地球のために頑張ってくれてるんでしょ。
俺たちも行きましょう。
史上最悪の敵。果たして地球の運命は。
守るためになったんだ。ウルトラマンに。
俺も誰かの大切なものを絶対に守る。
ウルトラマンデッカー最終章。旅立ちの彼方へ。
Ooh.
Pretty short trailer.
Sounds pretty epic, doesn't it? But was it? Guess we're gonna find out. But yeah, so cast and crew is as follows. Directed by Masayoshi Takasue, written by Toshizo Nemoto, music by Kenichiro Suehiro and Masahiro Tokuda, and starring Hiroki Matsumoto, Yuka Murayama, Nobunaga Daichi, Sai Miyazawa, Masaya Kikawada, and Kayano Nakamura. And the plot is more or less as follows. Sometime after the events of the show, Kanata, Ichika, and Ryuman are training the latest batch of Guts Select recruits. Ryuman has been named captain of the new Guts Select unit, and Ichika is planning on departing on a deep space exploration mission. Kanata, meanwhile, is unsure of his future plans. Soon, an alien spacecraft appears and renders a group of civilians unconscious. The Guts team arrives to investigate, and they encounter a group of hostile aliens. The aliens summon King Joe, but a mysterious woman arrives and transforms into Ultraman Denas. She defeats King Joe, and the aliens retreat. Denas reveals that the aliens were doing a test invasion on behalf of the evil Professor Gibbelus. Gibbelus wants to collect the spirits of all humans and merge them with kaiju. Soon, Gibbelus arrives and his minions take control of the TPU headquarters. The professor transforms into Gigolo Geyser and defeats Denas and the Guts Select team. The group retreats and have some heart-to-heart conversations. Once Ryuman regains his confidence and takes command, the group, along with Denas, goes to retake TPU headquarters. With the help of some alien friends, they are successful, but Gigolo Geyser soon reappears. Denas and the Guts mechas go into battle, but they are overmatched. Denas is defeated and Kanata is seemingly killed. However, Denas uses her power to revive Kanata and grants him the ability to transform into Decker once more. Decker, with the help of the Guts team, is able to defeat Gigolo Geyser. In the final moments, we see that Ryuman has taken command of the next generation of Guts Select, while Kanata has decided to join Ichika's space exploration mission as captain, as credits roll. More or less?
More or less.
It's the basic plot of the movie, right?
The basic.
The basic outline of the movie. But it starts with a roughly 2-minute recap of the show. You know, see him transform into, you see the little cubes attack Earth, and I vaguely remember some of this, and they put a barrier around Earth, and
so they can't get out into space.
Yeah, and he turned into Decker, and you know, you had a 25 episode show of him fighting various aliens in the cubes, and then at one point, Kango and Trigger became a big part of the show, and I think his parents were trapped on Mars or something, and blah, 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 blah. And, in the end, they defeated the cubes, and he and Ultraman Decker went their separate ways, which is really important to know at the start of this movie. He cannot transform into Decker
Anymore.
So this movie starts, you know, like I said, I don't think they ever say a specific time, but sometime after the show, they're training the new, I don't know, GOATS members, TPU recruits, whatever. And, you know, we kind of get the basic setup that his two friends, Ryuman and Ichika, both have big plans for their future. Ryuman has been named captain of the next generation of Guts Select. And Ichika is planning in 6 months, she's going to depart on some kind of deep space mission. Exploration mission, like some kind of Star Trek stuff.
Yeah.
And where no man has gone before. But
there already is a because they're
Kango is already on a deep space mission.
she's going on the second.
She's going
unit.
on the second one. But Kana says he's unsure of his future plans. He doesn't know what he wants to do.
He wants to either be, go to space, be a like a teacher.
Yeah.
and
Ryuman thought he was going to stay on the team, but he's like,
he's like juggling too many ideas.
Yeah. So, but I think the movie actually started out after the recap. We got to meet, there were some aliens in a dark alley, and this mysterious woman shows up, like throwing cards around, like a Yu-Gi-Oh movie or something. And she's like teleporting around using the cards and beating up these aliens and so on.
And then he teleports shortly after this, where they have a scene where they go out into a park. They're in like
Yeah.
a park area,
Yeah.
getting barbecue or something, and
Yeah.
she teleports right into
Right into Kanata.
Kanata.
And have an awkward scene where she's like laying on top of him and it's like, you smell weird. And then she gets up and runs off, and they're like, oh, that's weird. But anyway, to get into the plot of the movie, basically a weird alien spacecraft shows up. Some people get knocked unconscious. So they go to investigate, and they find those aliens that woman beat up before standing there with a device. And, they get into a shootout with the aliens, and then they summon King Joe. But then
Ultraman Venus.
the woman shows up and transforms into Ultraman Venus and defeats King Joe, and the aliens retreat and so on and so forth. And so, yeah, they get properly introduced, and he tells her that, he used to be Ultraman Decker. And
she's like,
oh my goodness. And I can say we don't keep secrets anymore, but, and
everybody else knows.
Yeah, everybody else does know. So I guess what's the point at this point? And so we do that whole bit, and I think this is kind of where she tells them, like, there's this Professor Gibbelus or whatever, and he's evil, and he's going planet to planet and like stealing the spirits of the local life forms and like merging them with kaiju or
doing
something.
horrible experiments.
Yeah. And she is from a planet, that name I forgot. And her planet was attacked, and she was beat up by some aliens. And but guess who? Ultraman Dyna showed up because he's a planet hopper now.
And this gave her the power to transform into an Ultraman.
Yeah, ran off the aliens and literally just granted her the power to transform into an Ultraman or Ultrawoman.
She's like,
which I didn't know was a thing, but it was like her light must have reacted just perfect with something. I don't know.
His
but
healing powers, and like, boom.
And he's like Ultraman Venus, who is basically just repainted a Decker suit. But yeah, so she's an Ultrawoman, and so all that's going on, and then I think at some time later, Gibbelus shows up, and his minions go and take over TPU headquarters and take the captain or whatever his role is and his assistant.
Who?
The people at the headquarters.
Where he was like a general or something.
Admiral. Whatever his title is. Take him and his assistant or his first officer, whatever she is, captive. And so then, they the Kanata and the others are out in the field, and
they were searching, for signs of it being invaded.
Yeah. And this Gigolo Geyser shows up. And of course she turns into Ultraman Venus and is promptly defeated. Yes. And so they all have to kind of retreat, and there's the big scene where they get into their mechs, their flying mechs or whatever, and then they get teleported into that weird purple meteorite dimension or whatever. And we have the kind of special effects sequence where they're stuck on the meteorites like the Millennium Falcon in one of those Star Wars movies. And or maybe Obi-Wan and Attack of the Clones. I don't remember. And they are floating around trying to, Dinas is trying to fight that bat alien thing.
Yeah.
And Kanata is like on the ground, like trying to chase it down or something. And they finally like destroy the little like projector things and get back to Earth. And then I think Gigolo Geyser appears and beats Dinas and destroys the mechs, and they have to kind of retreat and lick their wounds. And so they go to this like, I don't know, remote house or something out in the woods. And this is where we kind of have our heart-to-heart conversations, and we kind of get some of our character arcs where we started the movie where Ichika and Ryomon had these big dreams, but now that they're having to actually be faced with, Ryomon is particularly is faced with having to be commander now. He's which I feel like I don't remember, but I think there was a similar episode or two story arc in the show where he had to take command and he was kind of unsure of himself. But anyway, he's unsure of himself and he's kind of quiet, and Kanata, of course, is impatient. And then Ichika reveals that she's also kind of unsure about going into space. Should they even be exploring space? And so, here's our kind of like low point for the characters. And then Kanata feels bad and he goes out and apologizes. And, Dina, she was wounded, but she's going to go fight anyway. And then Ichika gives her this kind of nonsensical speech about how her parents used to run a temple and that somehow correlated into going into space. And I kind of lost track of the metaphor.
Yeah.
Anyway, they decide to go take back TPU headquarters. So they do try to go take it back. And there's some aliens that it looks like the commander and his first officer are about to be shot in the head or whatever, but it cuts. There's a gunshot and it cuts away. Of course, that they got rescued, and and Kanata and Dinas get captured as well, and of course it's all kind of a ruse because they had already been rescued by some alien friends of theirs that I'm sure were in the show. I just forgot about.
Mm-hmm.
And they were, disguised. And anyway, they beat up on the aliens and take back their TPU mechs and stuff.
All their weapons.
But Gibelos is like, no matter. He transforms into, what was it called? Gigolo Geyser again.
Yeah.
And the fight's on. The fight's on. He's got his little spaceship thing that he merges with. Kind of reminded me of like Super Mecha Godzilla, where Mecha Godzilla merged with Garuda or whatever, if you remember that. But anyway.
For any Godzilla fans out there.
Yeah, if you're listening to this and you're a Godzilla fan by chance, I wouldn't know why. That would be a crossover, but anyway, so blah blah blah. Dinas goes out there, and the mechs go out there to back her up, and of course they all get beat, and it looks like Kanata sacrifices himself while he's in the mech to shield Dinas from the second blast from Gigolo Geyser, and of course they get his body out of the mech, and the Robo Hanejiro says he's dead, and they're all sad. But I said it was through, in their plot summary, I said it was through Dinas's power. I guess it's kind of like a combination of the power of friendship and her power or something, and the cards that she gave them that
the cards combined into one card.
Yeah.
And gave it the power to transform into Decker.
Yeah, and 62 minutes into a 75-minute feature, Decker finally shows up in his own movie.
Well,
and
his character was there. The character that played
Kanata was there, yeah.
The whole movie.
But it was a choice. 62 minutes in, Decker, and really a 71-minute movie if you take out credits. probably more like 70 if you take out
At
the
least it was.
3 Subaraya logos at the beginning. But
At least it wasn't one of those movies that didn't have the character and the Ultraman, and the character that plays the Ultraman in it.
what?
At least it wasn't one of those movies that didn't have the person that plays that.
Oh, where you mean like the Ultraman shows up, but the original human actor character doesn't show up?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not
well,
Harley has both of them at the same
Yeah.
at the same time.
well, I mean, this was his spin-off movie, so you'd expect both of them to show back up. But anyway, so he shows up and has his big final fight with Gigolo Geyser, and of course the Guts team gets their mechs back up for one last fight, and they destroy the little spaceship he's attached to while Decker runs Gigolo Geyser into space and uses his version of his specium beam is to blow up Gigolo Geyser. And yeah.
Yeah.
And then it cuts, sometime later. I guess Dina's went back to her home planet. I'm not really sure, but sometime later, and Ryoman has taken command of the next group of Gut Select, but he has to go, and it's revealed that Kanata has decided to join Ichika's space exploration mission, and he is
The captain.
the captain. I was wondering, was she going to be captain, and he just like booted her out, and said, "No, I'm going to take over as captain," or because
Nah.
she's like the navigation officer or
She
something.
was gonna go. She was never gonna be the captain. She was just going on the.
Okay, it's not a glass ceiling kind of deal where he's like, "No, you're not breaking this glass ceiling." No, but yeah, he's the captain, and of course they do the joke is like, "Where are we going again?" And they're like, "Nebula D97 or something," and they jump to warp speed, and credits roll.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was the movie.
that's the movie. Listen, I mean, here's the deal. We talked about last time how that what was that movie we watched last time? Trigger. The Trigger movie was like an actual finale to the show, and not
Yeah.
like kind of a spin-off movie or a non canon movie or something. Even though this one has got finale in the title, this one is much more kind of back to what we were doing, where it's kind of a
spin-off.
spin-off. I mean, yes, it's after the show, but it's more of a spin-off that really doesn't, like, if you didn't watch it, it doesn't really change, the plot of the show or the arc of the show or anything.
You had to watch the show to know the Trigger movie.
Yeah, the Trigger movie was a direct continuation of the main arc of that show, where this one is just kind of another spin-off. In fact, it feels like an episodic episode stretched out into 75
feels like
minutes.
an extended episode.
Yeah, it feels like an extended episode, like a plot they had for an episode that they were like, well, we'll just save this for the...
They had like an arc they thought of, and like, we can just turn this into a movie.
And one of my things with this movie is like, it's just kind of very meh to me, like very bland, I should say. Like, there's nothing particularly bad about it.
No?
There's nothing particularly good about it. In fact,
it's there.
It's just kind of there, and it feels like a plot we've seen dozens of times. Like, I know we've seen plots where aliens come to the planet and like...
You only have so many plots you can work with.
I know, but we've seen the plots before where an alien comes to Earth and like vacuums up all the human spirits or whatever, and then the alien spaceship gets destroyed and all the spirits are returned to Earth. I mean, I feel like we've seen that 3 or 4 times by now, but
you only have so many plot lines you can do in an Ultraman show before you redo them.
And they try to do like some really basic character stuff about overcoming your trepidations or whatever.
Not like, this show is not the most overbearing about friendship, I will say.
No, I mean, they do some like very basic like character arc, themes of like I said, overcoming your fears and,
But it's like simplified to the earlier movies that they've done.
Yeah, but one of my things is like but like I said, they set up the basic like, oh, they had these big dreams, but in reality, they're both like afraid to chase after them or whatever. But they've set up some stuff that they really don't follow through. Like the thing with Ryomon having to take command. Like he does briefly, like right like after they have their big conversation or whatever, and he's like, follow my orders and we're gonna go take back TPU. But like a normal movie that was really trying to push that message, like even once the main captain came back, or general or admiral, whatever he is, like he would have a scene after that where he would be like, Ryomon would be like looking at him to give orders, and he's like, no, you take this or whatever. But no, the guy just goes back to giving the orders. And I know he gets to be captain at the very end of the movie of his new team or whatever. And then, one thing like I talked about is like this movie makes a very interesting choice of not bringing Decker into the movie until over an hour into an hour 15 movie.
Yeah.
And you kind of said something interesting, like what if Decker like Ned doesn't ever show up and it's just about the humans. Like one thing they could have said, and they have kind of tried to tackle this in Ultraman shows, episodes of movies before, about like that kind of like fear the characters have of like, without Ultraman, who am I? If they really wanted to do something original, they could have done that. Like one of the big things with Kanata could have been, they don't do this, but it could have been like him trying to come to grips with like, what is his worth if he's not Ultraman?
How to, help the Earth fight off monsters, not being Ultraman anymore.
Yeah, and then they could just have him be. I mean, we got our Ultraman fixed kind of with the Ultraman Dinas character.
It was me.
Which whatever, yeah, we can talk about that in a little bit. But they could be, kind of, ballsy, excuse the expression, and just have him and his team defeat the aliens, with the help of Dinas without having Decker there. And that would have been I don't know if it had been any good, but it had been something a little bit different. But they don't decide to go that route. They just kind of have a little bit of a character arc of him where he's like unsure of what he wants to do. And then at the end, he decides for whatever reason he wants to go explore space with Ichiko. I think it'd have been a little more interesting. Not that it had been any more original or anything, where he like forges his own path without just kind of co-opting her idea. But whatever. And then the big new character is Dinas.
Yeah.
I mean,
I like how one of the main alien guy said, he's like, oh, look, it's the third rate
Ultraman. Yeah. That's kind of what she is, though. She's kind of a one movie, show.
Never mentioned again.
I've never heard. Well, of course, we're still not far removed from this movie, so she'll probably come back if they ever do another one of their big Ultra Galaxy collab things. But
she'll be in the card game.
Yeah. She's basically, like I said, I think she's a painted over Decker suit. She's basically the female version of Decker. She's kind of the Ultraman Dyna connection to this movie, because she actually met Dyna in person. He gave her powers. And she shows up, and she just kind of she's kind of a plot device. She's a plot device to allow.
Had a sad backstory.
She's got a sad backstory, like all good aliens do. Kind of a plot device to allow them to have, allow the movie to have an Ultraman while they try to set up all the human stuff with Kanata and his team, and then a plot device at the end for Kanata to regain his powers.
She says later in the movie the reason she's not a good Ultraman is because her species is not made for fighting.
Yeah, they're peaceful or whatever. But sure, lady. But I don't know. She's fine.
She's fine.
That's
I've seen worse characters.
I've definitely seen worse characters, but so that's basically the movie. Is what it is.
It is what
you gonna do some creature design?
Sure.
Well, we've got a bunch of aliens. We've seen them all before. They're the classic aliens. We see some classic kaiju like Gamora. No, we don't see Gamora. Gamora was in that Omega episode we just watched, wasn't he?
Yeah, and you're getting your Ultraman
I'm getting my Ultraman confused. We see some aliens we've seen before, though. We see the Bat Alien. We've seen him before. There was another one we saw that we...
With the alien in the girl's flashback, the monster in the girl's flashback.
We've seen those. And but we have Professor Gibbous, who I feel like we've seen one of his aliens before. I could be wrong, but he's basically... kind of like a zebra stripe thing with like a red and blue like head, or red and blue with like yellow eye visor headgear thing going on.
I think he just looks like another alien.
He probably just looks like a different alien.
There's a lot of aliens that look like that.
Yeah. And then he turns into the Gigolo Geyser, which is a big dinosaur type kaiju, blue and black, I think. And he gets,
Yeah.
like I said, he has the spaceship that he kind of merges with that gives him like this neck, like a
Beam.
main thing that he can shoot a beam out of, and
Net cannon.
net cannon. And yeah, he looks fine. And then you got Ultraman Venus, and like I said, she's kind of a blue, almost like a Cosmo color scheme, almost like a Cosmo Decker cross.
Yeah.
She's got kind of the color scheme of Cosmos with the Decker like color timer that's like over like her breast or whatever on the right side.
It's not centered.
It's not centered. And then Decker, of course, he's kind of got that the base Dinah look with like he's got the head crest with the little diamond in it, like Dinah does. But again, he's got instead of the color timer being in the center of his chest, he's got a color timer kind of over his right pec, and which is kind of unique. And he's got some designs on him and stuff. But he's kind of got the Dinah color scheme and stuff. And then you got the mechs. Like there's that one kind of blue and black mech with like the center eye that they got, and then they've got their little yellow and red flying space ships or whatever that merge, and then they've got their space command or their command center thing that turns into like the dragon thing.
Yep.
That shoots a beam out of his mouth or something, and yeah, I mean,
it's not bad.
all the designs are fine. You know, they're they're loyal to the classic ones, and the new ones are, they function. Effects, again, I'm going to compliment this movie on its practical effects. Again, I think like the last couple of movies, the model cities are really well done. They do a really good job of putting smaller objects like cars and trees and like power lines and stuff in the foreground when the kaiju and the ultras are on screen fighting. And then the bigger buildings in the background to really give a good sense of scale. And they've got some like kind of like moving props sometimes in the foreground. Like there's this one building that's got the little guy like with doing the hammer on the like the top of the building or whatever. So
yeah,
I think the models are really well done in this movie. There's some CGI, especially with the ships and stuff that,
CGI could have been worse.
Could have been worse. It's not the worst we've seen.
It's about on par with the show.
Yeah,
it's on par with the show.
It's basically, what you'd seen in the show. I mean, it's not the worst we've seen. I wouldn't call it good either. There's the worst scenes. There's several scenes in this movie with people either flying through the air or falling through the air or something that look pretty bad.
They could look worse.
They look pretty bad, but other than that, again, this movie really doesn't rely on CGI. The kaiju and the ultras rarely, if ever, are CGI, and so they really commit to practical suits and models. So I really appreciate that, and I think they do a good job. And then soundtrack, pretty typical Ultraman soundtrack.
They just have Decker's theme going on and on.
Well, they really don't play Decker's theme until the very end.
The whole sad music is Decker's theme.
Is it Decker's theme? Slow Down. Okay, yeah.
And then they
kick in the actual like vocalized theme at the end.
Yeah.
I think Decker's theme is actually not bad. I mean, it's not as good as Pull the Trigger or whatever.
It's like they have several Decker's themes from the show in the movie.
Yeah, and I like I said, Decker's theme is not bad, and the soundtrack works, and the pop song they got at the end is fine. It's kind of whatever.
And they always have to have a pop song.
Gotta have a new pop song at the end, but
it's like a transition now.
Yeah, but you want to get into some final thoughts?
Sure.
Well, why don't you go for it?
Well, this movie, it could be worse. It could be better, but it could be worse. It's one of those like mid-tier Ultraman movies. You'd like, it's not great, but it's not bad. It could be worse. And I think all the model effects, all the the costumes and all that they made look great. The CGI, it's not bad. It's basically what you got in the TV show with it's passable. You know, all the acting is still as good as it was in the TV show. You know, it's not it's not like the grandest acting you'll ever see, but you know, it passes for any good Ultraman viewing experience. And you know, the new Ultraman Venus, no, she's all right. You know, she has a little bit of a backstory they tried to work in there that it's a little hollow. You know, it's a little surface level.
Yeah.
But you know, it works for what they're going for. It keeps the story going. And you know, even though she's not the greatest Ultra person that ever lived, you know, she gets beat up most of the movie.
Yeah.
She never really wins a fight.
Well, she beats King Joe, doesn't she?
With the help.
With help. I mean, yeah.
But you know, she's not bad.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, they explain why she's not that good at fighting. You know, her race was not built for fighting. They were like very peaceful, non-aggressive race of people.
She seemed to be doing pretty good when at the beginning of the movie she's doing her ninja kicks and teleporting all over the place with those cars.
She's really good when she's not in Ultraman form. She's honestly way better at fighting when she's not in Ultraman form.
Yeah.
With her cards that, you know, she had like infinite amounts of them, it seems like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, seeing Decker for like the last few minutes was cool and all that. You know, always get your Decker fix in the movie, you know.
Gotta get a Decker fix.
You know, I thought I'll give this movie. I'll give it a C plus.
All right. Yeah. Listen, I mean, ultimately, my review, like I've said earlier, is it's just kind of another run of the mill Ultraman movie. It's pretty generic. There's no really bad thing that tanks this movie. I mean, the actor playing Kanata, he's got one acting style, and it's loud and aggressive. He yells pretty much every line of dialogue. I mean, it kind of grates on me sometimes. He's also, I mean, he is just kind of naturally charming, so it's not as bad as some other characters, especially that last movie, that Trigger movie where everybody was just screaming everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he was, you know, his performance was kind of, I mean, all their performances honestly were kind of flat in this movie, but you know, there's also nothing really special about this movie. Like I've said, it's a lot of been there, done that. You know, alien comes to steal spirits of humanity to do something evil. I mean, you know, the bad guys all look like bad guys we've seen before. Even the new ones look like bad guys we've seen before.
Yeah.
You know, nothing really unique or special about this movie. It feels like the plot of an episode stretched out to 75 minutes. You know, so it kind of is what it is. But, you know, like I said, I appreciate the model work. Still pretty good. They don't rely on poor CGI or anything. And, you know, yeah, it's just kind of another one of the run of the mill modern day Ultraman movies. I'll give it like a C minus, I guess. I don't know. Very middle of the pack. But yeah, anyway, luckily, you know, and I love Ultraman, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but I am ready to kind of move on from Ultraman. So for the next couple of months or so, I think 3 months or September, October, November. Yeah, about 3 months. Well, it'll be about 3 months before we return to Ultraman, I think, for anything. But getting into kind of the news, I will be getting the Ultraman Blazar set in the mail. Should be in the next couple of days.
Ooh.
And that movie will be our next Ultraman movie. I've put it on the schedule in one of our blank weeks, which I believe was like December 10th. So about 3 months from now. October. Maybe about 4 months from now, I guess. But
Christmas is not that close.
yeah, it's pretty far away. But so we'll get a good break from Ultraman. And but Blazar will be, and again, that'll be, we saw the show obviously, but we haven't seen the movie, so that'll be a first time viewing experience for us.
Yep.
I did read the last comic in that Marvel Godzilla issue 1 crossover. That was Godzilla versus Thor. And again, spoiler alert if you don't want to know anything about the comic before you read it, but I'm gonna talk about it in detail. And I'll just say up front, I think this was my favorite of the whole series. I think they saved it for last for a reason. The basic plot is that it's kind of neat because it kind of picks up on the GMK storyline of Godzilla, that evil reincarnated evil spirit Godzilla that got blown up and then his heart was, left beating at the bottom of the ocean or whatever. So the story basically picks up with this group called The Hand, which is not they're a comic group. I think they were mostly associated with Punisher comic books. I'm not very familiar with them because they're not in any of the movies, or at least any of the movies or shows that I've seen. But apparently they like worship violence or whatever. And they resurrect Godzilla. They like make human sacrifice to his heart, and it like regenerates Godzilla. And it's the evil Godzilla with the white pupils and stuff. And then he goes on a rampage. And so then, of course, Thor shows up and he gets into a big fight with Thor, and it's a big epic fight. But then Thor like summons the ice of the ice giant planet and freezes Godzilla. Well, then the arch priestess of the Hand goes and gets a shard of the blade, the black sword or whatever. And remember in that the God Butcher that Christian Bale played in Thor: Love and Thunder, whatever, his black sword or whatever, and it like merges with Godzilla, and now he's Godzilla the God Butcher or whatever.
Oh boy!
And him and it's actually, and I really like the direction they go with it. Him and Thor get into like this, or they teleport Godzilla to Asgard, and like Godzilla destroys Asgard and kills all the gods, which you don't see that part. It just, Thor discovers it later. So Godzilla basically brings about Ragnarok, and then Thor and Godzilla get into an epic battle, and basically in order to kill Godzilla, Thor like goes in and basically has to sacrifice himself, uses all of his power and sacrifices himself. And so the universe is saved, but then the end is that Thor and Godzilla are in hell together and are doomed to fight each other for all of eternity or whatever. So, yeah, pretty neat. I thought it was the one that had kind of the most, again, it delivered what I wanted all these to deliver, which was just give me Thor and Godzilla fighting each other. And that's this one. I mean, the other one's kind of like would have that, and then something else would happen, and Godzilla would team up with the heroes to fight somebody else or something. But this one actually just delivered what I wanted, which was Godzilla and Thor just beating the living crap out of each other. And the art for this one was really, it was kind of that cosmic kind of comic book style.
Yeah.
And the art was very beautiful. I love the panels. And yeah, for a one issue kind of story, I thought it was really good. Had plenty of reverence for Godzilla, had plenty of reverence for Thor. And yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was the best one. So if you're going to read one of them, I would suggest reading that one. But other than that, I really don't have any other news other than just because there might be a bit of crossover interest this weekend, or I guess this past weekend by the time this podcast comes out. No, this will come out on Wednesday. So this upcoming weekend, Demon Slayer, the Infinity Castle movie comes out. So if you're interested in seeing that, definitely go check that out. I did check our local theater, and it looked like they don't have a bunch of showings for it. I think they have like 2 subtitled showings and 1 dub showing a day. But I looked at the dub showing on Saturday, and it looked like it was it was pretty full theater. So you might want to think about pre-ordering your tickets. And we're in a rural area, so I'm sure in the bigger cities, it probably definitely is selling out. But so yeah, check that out. But other than that, that's really all I got for you this week. Schedule wise, like I said, we're done. We're finally, I think my patience was kind of waning between these Ultraman movies and those Hayashiya, Oga, Raiga,
you didn't love
Reigo
those
movies. But we're finally getting into something else, and we're actually getting into a stretch of movies that are pretty varied, and I think we're gonna have a lot of fun with. Now, next week is The Whale God. It is an SRS Cinema release, but it's not like their typical like indie movie release. This is like an actual studio movie from back in the 60s, a legit Japanese studio movie.
Are you saying though that these weren't legit movies?
They were different kind of movies. So it'll be I'm really interested to see that next week. That'll be our next one, and then we do have some more SRS Cinema-y things like the Great Buddha Arrival. I think we're doing the Great Seafood Monster War or whatever that's called, and then one that's not an SRS Cinema movie, but is in that similar vein from the early 2000s called The Calamari Wrestler. So that'll be the next movies coming up over the next month or so. And then we've got some other exciting things, like we're doing, like I said, the Jason and the Argonauts trilogy, which I've never seen I've never seen any of those, so that'll definitely be a lot of fun. I mean, maybe a little outside our normal purview, but it's Ray Harryhausen, and it's got creatures in it, so close enough. And we're doing the Alligator movies, Alligator 1 and 2.
Oh yeah.
So that'll be fun, I hope. And so yeah, we've got a lot of exciting things coming up on the podcast. So you excited about all that?
Oh, I'm excited.
Well, that's good. Well, other than that, don't forget that you can always contact us at stompthisway1954@gmail.com.
And you can find our website at www.stompthisway.wordpress.com.
Yep, I need to update that website, but I've been busy. And you can always find us on Facebook at Stomp This Way. But again, next week is The Well God. And as always, I'm Aaron.
I'm Andrew.
And we will see you next time.